Check one. Check one. What's going on, y'all? Good to see you. Welcome back. Greetings. We're live on X, on YouTube, and today we're on Rumble. I don't know. I'm going to see how it... I had stopped streaming to Rumble because... stopped streaming to Rumble because it was doing weird things to what my numbers were displaying. But I'm going back. I just want to give people another option, a place to watch if they want to watch on Rumble. It seems like it is doing the weird things to my numbers thing again. But you would think, maybe I shouldn't care, but I do care because I want it to seem like somebody's watching the show. If I'm doing a show and it looks like nobody's watching the show, then, that's not helpful really to anybody. So I'd like it to look like someone's watching the show. But if you prefer to watch on Rumble, if you don't want to watch on YouTube and you want to watch on Rumble, if you want just another streaming platform, I watch a lot of things on Rumble. I stream a lot of alternative content on Rumble because I just, I do spend some time on YouTube, but it's not my go-to platform. It's my platform for some things, but not everything. I generally try not to give them my business or my energy when I can. Even though I'm streaming to YouTube. I'm streaming to YouTube because most people want to watch on YouTube, I guess. But yeah. So we're gonna see how much we can get in today. We'll start with something that is kind of funny. This is just for laughs. Hold on one second. And I don't necessarily, I'm not endorsing this message. This is just, I always find it funny when people post videos of people like giving the cops a hard time. Yeah, okay. Cops are, can be jerks. And it's a pain in the ass to get pulled over them for that, by them, especially for, people of darker skin. I get it. But it's funny to me. I don't know. It's always silly to me because it's just like, if you just say like, hey, what's up? Here's my license, and okay. Generally, you could just go on your way if you just don't. It's just always fun, whenever I just see these videos of people like just giving, just doing their utmost, I'm not answering any questions and I'm not lowering my window down and just escalating the situation. Sometimes the cops back down, sometimes they don't. But I have to say, half the time when I see people, getting, it's not cool. I'm not supporting the police, by the way. I'm not saying that it's cool for police to go overboard. But if you're escalating the situation, you're just kind of asking. You're just asking for the situation to escalate. So, like, if there's no need for the situation to escalate, just don't escalate the situation. And it's just funny to me. Anyway, so somebody posted this guy at the, refusing to give the border patrol answers, and like, okay, sure. You're a sovereign citizen and all that kind of stuff. It's cool. I get it. But it's just a routine stop. And if he would have just said, I'm a citizen and declare that I have nothing in the vehicle, you could just go on your way. But this guy turned it into a whole thing and they had to pull him to the side, and it was an escalation. It was like, dude, is there an issue with just saying I'm a U.S. citizen and just being about your day? Like, it's it's silliness. Anyways, this guy, like, this video, this guy is just, I refuse. I'm not answering any questions. Bring me your supervisor. For what reason, though? Like, he just asked you if you were a citizen. Whatever. I don't know. It's just, I find it funny because you don't really need to make everything a freaking battle. Because, people that make everything a battle, just, it's kind of, I don't like to be around people that make everything a freaking battle, because it's like, dude, we're just trying to do some things here, go down the road and stuff. So this is a comedy skit by Chris Rock. This is comedy. Okay. I'm not saying like, hey, people, you need to just comply and this is how you get out of it. This is comedy. This is a comedy skit. It's funny. Okay. We're going to listen to this.
People in the Black community, myself, often worry that we might be a victim of police brutality. So, as a public service, the Chris Rock Show proudly presents this educational video. Have you ever been face to face with a police officer and wondered, is he about to kick my ass? Well, wonder no more. If you follow these easy tips, you'll be fine. First, obey the law. Laws were made for a reason. Think of them as hints. You've heard people say, man, I wouldn't do that shit if I was you. Well, here's some of that shit. Carjacking, armed robbery, arson, selling drugs, buying drugs, stabbing, shooting. You probably won't get your ass kicked if you just use common sense. If you jump a subway turnstile, you might just get off with a warning from the police. But if you jump a turnstile carrying a loaded gun and smoking a joint, then maybe you need your ass kicked. We all know what happened to Rodney King. But Rodney wouldn't have gotten his ass kicked if he had just followed this simple tip. When you see flashing police lights in your mirror, stop immediately. Everybody knows, if the police have to come and get you, they're bringing an ass kicking with them. Here's a no-brainer. If you're listening to loud rap music, turn that shit off. Blasting "fuck the police" while you're getting pulled over by the police is just ignorant. When an officer approaches your car, be polite.
Is there a problem, officer?
And stay in your car with your hands on the wheel.
What the fuck do you want, motherfucker?
Unless you want your ass kicked. Want to give a friend a ride? Not so fast. Your friend might be crazy. Now, before you let your friend in your car, ask them these questions. Do you have a gun? Do you have drugs? Do you have any warrants? And in case you do get pulled over by the cops,
license and registration, please.
Remind your friend to do this one thing. Shut the fuck up.
Man, don't give him shit. What the fuck you want?
If you have to get a friend a ride, get a white friend. A white friend can be the difference between a ticket and a bullet in the ass. Here's a tip you should never forget. If your woman is mad at you, leave her at home. Because a mad woman will say anything.
He got weed! He got weed!
Oh my God.
If your woman is mad at you, there's nothing she'd like to see more than you getting your ass kicked.
That's right! He got weed!
Now let's review. Obey the law. Use common sense. Stop immediately. Turn that shit off. Be polite. Shut the fuck up. Get a white friend. And last but not least, don't ride with a mad woman. If you follow these simple pointers, you probably won't get your ass kicked by the police.
All right. Yeah, that was relatively funny. And a lot of that true, actually. Like, there's something to be said for just not acting like a moron when the police pull you over. So, like, escalating the situation, I get it. Like, if you're, not even having a bad day is grounds for, escalating a situation. Like, you don't want to get your ass kicked. That's the whole point. Just don't get your ass kicked. Okay. Like, if you're in a legal battle and you're a sovereign citizen, or, if you're trying to, I don't know, if there's a reason to pull out all the I'm a sovereign citizen stuff, fine. But if it's just a routine, you're running, driving down the street, like, maybe don't escalate the situation just so everybody can just continue with their freaking day. Like, I don't know. And yeah, you're right, Poppy. Like, I think that cops probably are more, have carrying around more fear than they should be. Maybe they're not altogether, anyways. I'm just saying, there's a time and a place for everything. There's a time to resist, and there's a time to shut the fuck up, as Chris Rock says, and just go down the road. Just, here's my license. I'm going to go down the road and just keep going. You have to turn it all into that shit. Anyways. So this is what runs through my head every time I see one of those videos when somebody's like telling the cop he's not going to give him their license, or I don't have to give you my name and I don't have to go. You know what? Deline says, hand them your license, registration, proof of insurance. Say, I invoke my Fifth Amendment to shut the fuck up. Simple, yeah. That video should be shown in driver's ed. Absolutely, Poppy. I think that's a great video to show. Just, yeah, don't escalate the situation for no reason. It's just not good for anybody. My God, man. Anyways. You drank toxic algae water from Paul Lake, British Columbia? Oh, man, Gregory, I'm sorry to hear that. We're going to get to that story. Eventually, thousands evacuated as torrential rains unleash flooding chaos in Manila. The kids look like they're not too worried about it over here, but this looks like pretty deep flooding. India getting the same treatment. Oh, they're just picking them up like a school bus. Hey, kids, we brought the boat by to pick you up. Oh, no comments are showing up on the side chat bar, Delene. If you're talking about the on-screen side chat, I don't know. Ongoing heavy rainfall in the Ganga River, causing it to overflow, flooding. I mean, this is, crazy amounts of flooding. Again, over and over everywhere. It doesn't really matter what you think is causing this. It's just that it's probably coming to a town near you soon. A snide chat. It's like a snide eye. I think snide eye is better than side eye. But is snide boob better than side boob? Gabe sent me this article a couple days ago, and I didn't have a chance to get to it. However, we're going to get to it today. And this is in Vancouver, happening in Vancouver as well. So, Gregory, I'm sorry that you spent that's a long time to be in the hospital. And I'm glad you recovered. Not good for the health, y'all. Marine life and tourism devastated by toxic algae bloom or algal off South Australia. Outbreak spans 4,500 square kilometers. There are over 400 different species of marine life that have been killed off or have had deaths as a result of this algal bloom. This is a natural disaster, should be acknowledged as such. The toxic bloom has been caused by overgrowth of the Corenia micomoti algal species, which affects fish gills and sucks oxygen out of the water as it decomposes, the state's environment department said. The bloom has impacted tourism and forced oyster and mussel farms to temporarily shut due to a waterborne toxin caused by the algae. Over 13,850 dead animals, including sharks, rays, and invertebrates, have been recorded by the public. This is a very serious environmental event, said Federal Environment Minister Murray Watt on Monday, but stopped short of calling it a national disaster, which would allow for greater federal support. I don't know. Why would you do that? This is from Vancouver from a few days ago. They're also suffering algae blooms off coastal waters in Vancouver Island. The phenomenon taking place off the coast of Vancouver is called a coccolithophore bloom. According to researchers at Fisheries and Oceans Canada, Institute of Ocean Scientists in Sydney, British Columbia, it's happening more frequently since the heat waves and El Nino events that started in 2015. These blooms usually follow an intense heat or warming event. The turquoise blue waters are so bright you can see them from space. From the pictures, you can see the bloom developing along the coast, especially Nitnot Lake, said Galbraith. I don't know who Galbraith is. Who's Galbraith? Coccolithophores are a non-toxic microscopic protist, type of phytoplankton with a calcareous shell made from a little sphere of calcium carbonate. Okay. Well, this isn't as toxic. This is just more of an event. Kamishwari Kate says worse than the smell is the smell of shit, like a sewer odor, right down at the English Banny and at Second Beach. Okay. Moving on to other news, a desperate Trump begs his supporters in Congress to distract from the Epstein files. Every time they give you a question that is not appropriate, just say Obama cheated on the election. He's instructing them to lie for him. Pure panic. Okay. They are really trying to avoid this. There's a lot of interest in this.
Remember this, Obama cheated on the election. And we have it cold, hard, blue, and it's getting even more so because
English
the stuff
Bay.
that's coming in is not even believable.
What's a banny?
And you should mention that every time they give you a question that's not appropriate, just say, oh, by the way, Obama cheated on the election. You'll watch the camera turn off instantly. But I want to remember this, Obama cheated on the election. And we have it cold, hard, blue, and it's getting even more so because the stuff that's coming in is not even believable. So, and you should mention that every time they give you a question that's not appropriate, just say, oh, by the way, Obama cheated on the election. You'll watch the camera turn off instantly. But I want to remember this, Obama.
Okay, whatever. It's interesting news, but maybe not really that interesting. Former Jeffrey Epstein lawyer Roy Black reported dead inside his home yesterday. The attorney represented Epstein and was instrumental in defending him in court. From the Mint Press News. He was 80 years old. He also defended in a famous trial a Kennedy who was accused of some rapage, and he got him off. I guess this guy was really good at getting very wealthy people off the hook. He was one of those guys. Ozzy Osbourne was 76. Ozzy Osbourne, yeah, poor guy. I think, I don't know. He lived, he lived his whole life. He lived a very rock and roll kind of lifestyle. And, 76 is probably a long time to live for somebody who lived a rock and roll lifestyle. 76 is pretty ripe old age to live for somebody who was kind of, if anybody watched the Osbourne show back in the day, that was a long time ago. He was barely functional in that thing, and that was years ago. I don't know who Rich Wakeman is, or Rick Wakeman. Who's Rick Wakeman? Parkinson's disease. Yeah, he wasn't, in good shape a long time ago. And yeah, he had Parkinson's, but I mean, 76. Keyboard Wizard from Yes. Okay. yeah. And Ozzy was a legend. But I don't know. Watching that show, I was kind of like, it was kind of gross. It's just, this is what, I don't know. Just everything about the show just kind of gave me the icks. So that's all I'm going to say about that. And he went out playing a huge show, with huge bands and a cast of thousands joining him on stage. And that, that's a pretty great way to, it's a pretty great way to go out, right? If you're gonna live your life, he lived his life as a very famous person. And anyways, cheers to Ozzy Osbourne. I wasn't really a metalhead growing up, so I wasn't, I know some Black Sabbath tunes, but I wasn't really a huge. And there were some bands that I wasn't into when I was growing up, but like later developed an appreciation for, like Led Zeppelin or who else? Well, Yes, I loved Yes. They weren't really like a metal band; they were like progressive rock, but but I did develop an appreciation for some bands that I didn't listen to in my youth, that I went back and listened to, and I was like, oh, this is pretty good. But Black Sabbath wasn't one of those bands, so I'm not, a super big Black Sabbath fan. What were my musical influences? When I was younger, I really liked the Beatles. I was a big Michael Jackson fan. Loved Michael Jackson and the Jackson 5. I used to listen to the Jackson 5 when I was really little. Who else? Yeah, it was more. I've always since my youth been more of a R&B kind of person. Been more gravitated more towards like Brothers Johnson, Al Green, Joni. Yeah, I did like Joni. Yeah, I enjoy Joni very much. But let me see. And I listened to a lot of like what my mom listened to, which was like James Taylor, more like folk rock kind of stuff. Who else did she listen to a lot? I mean, she was also into kind of like some music that I wasn't like what's Rod McEwen. She liked Chicago was pretty big in the rotation when I was a kid. Love Chicago. Al Jarreau. I liked Al Jarreau. I like Al Jarreau. I have a story about Al Jarreau and why it's hard for me to listen to him now. Should I tell you the story? When I was in a band a long time ago, and we were definitely living like the rock and roll lifestyle. And we were kind of up and coming in LA. And so we at the time I lived in the same house with the drummer, and we used to rehearse at this house that we lived in. And we used to have, I was also deeply into partying at the time. And so we would have parties like all the time, or after a show, everybody would come back to our house to hang out until 3 a.m. Moody Blues. Yes. Poppy Davis. Love the Moody Blues. Aerosmith. Yes. Love Aerosmith. I was a fan of the Who. The Who was big in the 70s. Like, I love the Who. I remember listening to the Who a lot. Who Are You? That record was a big record in my youth. Supertramp. Love Supertramp. Anyway, so I lived in this house. I was in a band. We were partying all the time. But so our next door neighbor was always calling the cops on us, and just completely, he was actually deeply alcoholic, but I guess he had a regular bedtime. He would just, I guess he got drunk and went to sleep early. But like, Breakfast in America is a great freaking album. Yes. So we would, a lot of times on Friday nights, we had this regular gig on Friday nights, and we wouldn't get out of the club until like midnight, 1, 2 in the morning, when we'd come home and we'd party until like the sun would come up. And I'm a huge Steely Dan fan. Yes. Very big into Steely Dan. And he hated us because we made a lot of noise at 3 or 4 in the morning. And, you know, I don't blame him. But anyways, at 8 o'clock in the morning, he would get up and put a speaker right outside my window and blast Al Jarreau of all things. So I was kind of like, I actually don't mind Al Jarreau. So this is an interesting choice that you're trying to bother me with. He would blast Al Jarreau at me at 8 o'clock in the morning, but it was loud, and it was annoying. And I was usually like totally passed out or like hungover, and I was like, and so because he did this like repeatedly, he kind of ruined Al Jarreau for me a little bit. Kind of ruined Al Jarreau, but I didn't, I generally like Al Jarreau. He's got also a very strange, distinctive singing voice, Al Jarreau. There was a guy who was kind of popular for a little while, not so much anymore, but maybe 10 years ago, there was a new R&B guy that had kind of an Al Jarreau-ish kind of voice. I'm trying to think of his name. He was kind of popular for a moment, but I haven't heard No Crocus. Excuse me. He did do the theme song to Moonlighting. You're right. He did. Donny Hathaway did Maude, the theme song to Maude. Remember that show? And then there's Maude. That was pretty great. All right, side trip. How do I feel about AI music? I don't feel like I want to feel any kind of way about it. I'm sure it's going to become more of a thing. I'm against it, though, for sure. Absolutely against it. Yeah, in this day and age, reality in musicianship is more coveted than ever, which I think has already been a thing. Like in response to auto-tune, I've noticed that there's some people that deliberately leave their vocals a little pitchy just to make you know that like this is really me singing, right? It's kind of a thing in music to add, like, now let mistakes hang in a track, or let real like human moments happen on a track, so that I'm not like overproducing this, auto-correcting this, auto-tuning this. This is a real person singing, and I'm here for it. I embrace that kind of like genuine, that realness in music, and I do it myself. Is AI really any worse than sampling? I think so. because I think sampling is an art form. Like people, you can flip something, there's a way to sample something and flip it and make it your own. It's kind of like the difference between DJing and putting a playlist on an iPod, and letting it run, which is fine. Like I have a playlist I have plenty of playlists that are pretty good that I can just put on at a party and go, this is a good, playlist full of good music, like I'm not DJing. It's just a playlist picking it for me. But it's totally different if somebody's like manning the tables and lending like creating something while they're playing music, But sampling isn't the thing that it used to be. It isn't like I think a lot of people frown on sampling these days. You know what I mean? Like, again, there's a trend, I think, these days to have like real musicians playing instruments. It's just a thing that I've noticed over the last decade or so, that people have drifted away from sampling. Sampling isn't like a thing that people really do much anymore. It's just not. Or if they do it, it's definitely underneath. It's layers and layers of sounds, and it's definitely buried in more of a creative process. Heck yeah. And I think we're going to see more of that trend, in the coming days, as a response to AI, as a response to, you're going to see people really want things. I think, even things that sound overproduced are annoying. Like I appreciate a certain level of production, but I also appreciate a certain level of non-production. Like things that are overly massaged, to me are kind of a turnoff. I'm just like, this is just too clean and too, perfect for me to really like get into. Like I like things a little bit messy. I love everything to have kind of that like muddy waters, or even Beatles. If you want to go back, Beatles recorded a lot of their stuff live. And so it has this kind of like it has a character to it. All right. I'm going to bring up something that's kind of might piss people off, or this might be touchy. I like weird things, and there's a lot of talk these days about controlled opposition, sloppity tight and raggedy clean. That's right. There's a lot of talk about controlled opposition or mainstream alternative people, just disclosure being used as a thing. I'm just bringing light to this post because I found the post interesting, and I always wonder about the people that like people love as alternative journalists, the ones that seem really authentic and stuff, like I always wonder, like, well, are they authentic? Anyways, I found this post. Whitney Webb. Her father is associated with naval intelligence and the Saudi community in Sarasota. Whitney given research and intel to disseminate as our own. Always looked like a puppet show. I don't know. I've always loved Whitney Webb. People love Whitney Webb. People swear by Whitney Webb. and I've read many of her tweets, parts of articles, played many videos. But this is interesting because her dad, I guess, was and I don't know what this means. As far as the naval intelligence part goes, I don't know. Do you think he was involved with naval intelligence? I don't know. I looked up some of this stuff, and it's true. This guy is her dad. He's in real estate law. Anywhere you find cross-pollination between Jays and Muslims is where you'll find Juan Carlos and King Philippe the Sixth. Richard Webb concentrates his practice in the area of real estate law, business law, and manufactured housing law. He has represented clients in complex real estate and business matters in Florida since 1977. This page is empty, though. This is interesting. I guess it was up, and now it's not. So apparently, the Saudi family in Sarasota in the gated community of Prestantia, who had Atta and other hijackers over for drinks and then left dinner on the table to flee the U.S. 2 days before the 9/11 attacks. Okay. So apparently this real estate firm is linked to Saudis. Robert Messick, an attorney with Sarasota law firm, not real estate firm, Icard Merrill, handled several of Husseini's closings for the banks that Messick represented. This is very interesting. I could not substantiate the naval intelligence part yet. I don't know. What do you guys think? What do you think about that? I mean, does it coincide like with famous rockers having fathers that are like CIA or naval intelligence, right? Is it kind of the same thing? Is it just happenstance? This is a different Richard Webb. This is not, there's a lot of Richard Webbs, so we don't know. Or I don't know. I only see this Richard Webb associated with Icard Merrill. So I don't know. Guys. Maybe he's just an attorney who just happened to work for this firm, who just happens to work with Saudis. I don't know. Who knows? Jim Morrison. Yep. What's his name? I can't remember his name right now. The drummer for the Police, Stuart Copeland. Anyways, but and a bunch of other people. who knows? I mean, maybe this is just people. I'm just bringing it up because I know, because it just looks a little bit weird. You know, I'm bringing attention to it. I don't know if this is just happenstantial. You know, like sometimes I feel like maybe the rocker connection is happenstantial. Like, oh, you know, my dad was, you know, worked for the government or something, and I went in the opposite direction. I wanted to be a musician. I don't know. Maybe it's just like that's just what I wanted to do. But it's interesting nonetheless. Somebody brought up, and I can't confirm this either. She was working for Mint Press, a far left pro-Islam outfit. Okay, whatever. Who cares about that? And then she got a 2-book deal. First stop on her book tour was Glenn Beck, Curious. When confronted on some of her research by the real Diane West, she responded to the effect of how she didn't know where her researcher got his information, but he's just brilliant. You know, this I don't know. This doesn't. I can't confirm this. Essentially admitting not only that she didn't do the legwork, but that she didn't even bother to verify it. A bit odd, in my opinion. But she does really good work. She does really good work. So, you know, having a career military dad can be rough. Yeah. And maybe that's what spurred her anti-establishment leanings. I don't know. She's a very intelligent person. So I don't know. Seems to be. But yes, extra bulla, skeptical for everybody, of everybody for safety's sake. That is a way to approach, you know. And I hear, you know, I hear other alternative media personalities, you know, the ones that I listen to, the ones that I, you know, on some level trust, or on a main level, I trust them. You know, I take them at face value that they are authentic and that they are real people trying to do, you know, God's work and putting information out there. Guilty until proven innocent. I mean, no, I mean, I listen to these people as if, you know, they are the real deal, but I do hold a small percentage of skepticism in my head for everyone. Especially, you know, people who are, you know, God's work equals genocide. That's funny. The other God, you know, it depends on who you're talking about. Yeah, I hold a little bit of skepticism for everyone, especially because some people are allowed to have followers and other people are just not allowed. Like I am, you know, I hear other alternative media people say like they're not allowed to have followers. I'm like, yeah, no, well, maybe you don't have as many as other people do, but you totally do have followers and you totally have listeners and you have people listening. Like I am not allowed to have followers. I'm not allowed to gain followers ever. I'm not allowed to have followers on any platform ever. So, you know, so when you're talking about, oh, well, this person got really popular really fast. How did they do that? And I'm, you know, sure. Okay. Maybe, you know, maybe all your followers are organic. I believe you. I believe your followers. I believe, you know, basically you're the real thing. But yeah, but when I post every single day on platforms and I talk every single day on platforms and I'm not allowed to get one follower, not one follower, or if I get one follower, it's taken away immediately. Like I don't get any followers ever whatsoever. They make sure that nobody sees my streams. Then I'm like, well, okay. But I believe these people are, have gained a following and gained an audience, and they did it because of hard work and integrity, and that's how it happened. That's what I believe. But there's a small percentage of skepticism for literally everyone, because literally everyone can be co-opted. 7Cs says the same shit. If you guys are fans of 7Cs, and I watch, I like his shows. He says basically the same thing. He's like, I don't trust anyone. At the end of the day, anybody. Who knows? All right. All right. Here's a palate cleanser. This is somebody showing you how they are living on their family compound, and that, it's a thing that people do, and it looks pretty cool.
We have on our family compound 1, 2, 3, 4, and we live up on top of a big hill where we aren't even close to the road. So what are we raising so we don't have to buy it at the grocery store? La Mancha goats for milk. For most people, goat milk is a lot easier to digest than cow's milk. We usually have huge gardens, and we all have attached greenhouses that we can grow food in year round. We raise our own organic meat rabs to stock our freezers full of meat. Raising our own beef cow for meat, and we also have an A2 milking cow. Raise our own bees, and we got 165 pounds of honey last year. We also grow our own herbs to make our own medicine. We also raise ducks for eggs instead of chickens. We also do raise a little bit of chickens, but we prefer meat rabbits instead of chickens. At the end of the day, anyone can start their own homestead or family compound. None of us knew what we were doing when we started, but it just takes a leap of faith, and you'll learn as you go. Let me know what questions you have about starting your own family compound, and follow along for more homesteading tips.
All right. Something to aspire to if you're not already doing it. I know there's a lot of people that are already doing it. This is good. Talk about the dollar. Grandma's talking about the dollar.
Baby, that dollar in your pocket, that ain't yours. That's Uncle Sam's play money. You get taxed when you earn it, income tax. You get taxed when you spend it, sales tax. You get taxed when you save it, interest income tax. Buy a house, they taxing that too. And if you fix it up, new roof, fresh paint, honey, they saying, ooh, you fancy. Now your property tax go up too. They tax that dollar 6 ways to Sunday, and what do we got to show for it? A Federal Reserve we can't audit, trillions in missing money, and wars we didn't ask for, but somehow always got to pay for it. Baby, if that ain't robbery in slow motion, I don't know what is. Baby, that dollar in your pocket, that ain't your...
Just running it down for you. Guys, if you like the show, if you want to support the show, if you want to see the show continue to come to you for free, Monday through Friday, usually here at noon Pacific. If you want to support the show, well, that's a great idea. Today is the day. There's lots of ways to do it in the description box, or the link tree on X, or the description box on Rumble. All the regulars are there: Venmo, CashApp, PayPal, Zelle, Buy Me a Coffee, Ko-Fi, Patreon, Substack, etc. So many of you support the show on the regular. You know who you are. I appreciate you. Poppy says it's so much easier to have several people trying to do similar stuff. Yeah. Yeah, if you can. It's called a cult. I mean, I think it's a good idea to have a community of people trying to do trying to help, right, with the goats and the in the feeding and the everything, right? If you're doing it. If you're trying to do it alone, it's a lot to do. 950 trucks full of aid sent by international organizations for distribution to Gazan civilians are being held up by Israel. 950 trucks worth of aid. So just, yeah, God's the chosen ones. All out for Palestine tonight in New York City. This is Max Blumenthal. After 654 days of genocide, the flood is growing. It sure is. Is out there supporting. Americans should know this. There are around 800,000 to 900,000 Jewish settlers in the West Bank and East Jerusalem, and none of them work. They live off government funding, free housing, free healthcare, free everything, and your tax dollars pay for it. And Adam says there's a word for this. John Mearsheimer tells it like it is. On the Judge Knapp show.
You really have to wonder about the rhetoric that the Israelis use. It's so Orwellian. You know, they talk about voluntary transfer as if the Palestinians are voluntarily going to leave.
Right.
They talk about a humanitarian camp as if this were a humanitarian camp. The more time goes by, Judge, and I hate to say this, and I say it reluctantly, but I believe it's true. The Israelis look like the Nazis. Their rhetoric, their behavior, it's truly appalling. And it's hard to believe that a Jewish state is behaving much the way the Third Reich did in the 30s and 40s. You really have to wonder.
This man has a little to say, and it's,
why the fuck is America still supporting Israel? Because America's addicted to bullshit. It gets off on fairy tales about democracy while writing blank checks to a goddamn apartheid state. Israel could crucify Christ again on live television, and Congress would give Netanyahu another 29 standing ovations and probably name a fucking aircraft carrier after him. You think it's about shared values? Yeah. Colonialism, ethnic cleansing, and bombing brown people, real family values. And the Christian Zionists, these Bible-thumping lunatics, think blowing up the Middle East will hasten the second coming. They don't give a damn about Jews or Palestinians. They're trying to fast-track Jesus like it's a fucking Amazon Prime delivery. Meanwhile, AIPAC's greasing the wheels, shoving cash down every political throat from D.C. to your dusty-ass school board. And the politicians, they bend over faster than a televangelist caught in a motel with two hookers and a bag of coke. And Canada? Canada's just America's polite little poodle. Woof, woof. Yes, master. Bombs for apartheid? You got it, eh? So why is America still supporting Israel? Because genocide is a business. Zionism is a marketing department. And Christian fundamentalism is a fucking cult that keeps the lights on.
yes. Breaking it down. Israeli Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich said publicly Trump has given the green light to clear Gaza of Palestinians. It's from Ryan Grimm. State Department spokesperson Tammy Bruce is asked about his comment, and bizarrely attacks the reporter.
Thank you, Tammy. Two quick questions. A follow up on Tom. Between the 20th of January till the 2nd of March, upward of 600 trucks were going in a day. There's no evidence of any trucks were being stolen, and no evidence of violence around the aid and so on. Doesn't that speak well of the former system that was in place to get aid in?
Well, without knowing what you're referring to or having the data or who's reporting those numbers, that would be speculation on my part. What we do know is that in the immediate aftermath of October 7th, the defense that Israel was applying regarding that dynamic, the efforts to get food in to Gaza, even recently, have failed miserably. We do know that everyone, as they had stopped food delivery because of the dangers on the ground. That was the driving force. Was even for us before GHF was we want to get material into the region, but we want to be able to do it somewhat safely and without it being looted or taken by Hamas. And no one had ideas about how to make that happen. And the GHF plan achieves that. What comes after this, I can't also tell you. That's a different, and there will be a day when we're discussing the redevelopment of Gaza and new issues about the markets of Gaza and the peace of Gaza and who's running Gaza. Those will also be maybe fraught conversations, but boy, I think we both look forward to those days.
Yeah, and another quick question. Yesterday, the Chief of Staff of the Israeli Army, General Zamir, said that the current strategy, including storming Deir al-Balah with tanks and so on, and including apparently the starvation strategy, is aimed at forcing Hamas to release the hostages. And today, Bezalel Smotrich, the finance minister, said that they have a green light from the Trump administration to basically remove Gazans by force and create.
I need to stop you right there. I can't have a conspiracy theory, an accusation against President Trump about what someone says that they've been allowed to do. Saeed, we can't have that. And that's not something that belongs in this room with everything at stake, with so many people at risk. And then your answer is to bring up a conspiracy theory about what Donald Trump is saying or not saying. It's one thing to hear someone say it. It's another thing to bring it up in a serious room, of which I've shown you respect throughout, and that is unacceptable. And so we're going to move on. Yes, in the back.
Horrible. All right, we're gonna watch this video from Greg Reese, and he's gonna talk about I talked about the other day the new CURP legislation in Mexico that's gonna force everybody to basically have a QR code that's tied to their version of a social security number. It's basically kind of like a new technocratic version of the social security number, but it's going to be, they're rolling it out in Mexico as fast as they can. And Greg Reese did a little video on this about how Trump is basically compelled Scheinbaum to do this. So this is at the behest of the U.S.
Four years ago, while billions of people were getting an experimental gene therapy drug, the United Nations announced their goal to get the entire world on digital IDs by the year 2030. Which is a stated part of their Sustainable Development 2030 agenda.
The United Nations is ready to digitally transform how it deals with identity. with a system to streamline information sharing, daily workflows, access to platforms and buildings, operating across agencies by providing its personnel with a universal system-wide identity solution. Introducing the UN Digital ID, a unique and digital identity for UN personnel from the day you join to the day you part. All of your personal, HR, medical, travel, security, payroll and pension data in the palm of your hand, giving you full control on what you share and with whom. With blockchain and biometrics, the UN Digital ID makes verification efficient, secure, transparent, immutable, portable and universal. It's been piloted by different agencies and the UN Pension Fund, where they've replaced current manual processes with certainty for who and where pension recipients say they are at any given time. As innovation transforms the world, we can improve the way we manage our identities online. UN Digital IDs, a building block for digital cooperation, unlocking the promise of the SDGs.
About 5 years before that, presidential candidate Donald Trump stated that this was also his goal.
We will finally complete the biometric entry-exit visa tracking system, which we need desperately. In my administration, we will ensure that this system is in place. And I will tell you, it will be on land, it will be on sea,
This is creepy.
it will be in air. We will have a proper tracking system.
The main purpose of opening the borders was to create chaos so that order in the form of a digital ID system would be tolerated. In order for a biometric border system to work, everyone will obviously need to be in the system. And the Trump administration is using tariffs to compel foreign nations to comply. After threatening to impose harsher tariffs on Colombia, the Statement of Intent for Biometric Cooperation was drafted between the U.S. and Colombia. After returning from this trip, U.S. Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem said that she met with Mexican President Sheinbaum about sharing biometric data in exchange for ending tariffs.
Do you think the Mexican president, you talked to her, is doing enough to defeat the cartels down there?
You know, we talked extensively about that. I gave her some options of more she could do. And I asked her specifically to share biometric information with us. And she's willing to discuss that, even though that in her country would be a little bit controversial. But she's putting a good faith effort. But President Trump is clear. He doesn't want people to keep talking. He wants to see action. And she has an opportunity to do some things that I will give a report to the president on and see if we can deal with the tariff situation that may be facing her people.
Wow.
As a result of this, several laws went into effect last week in Mexico that will require the CURP, Mexico's 18-character version of the U.S. Social Security number, to include a QR code containing biometric data of both fingerprints and retinal scans. These new digital IDs will be monitored by the new Unified Identity Platform Agency, and biometric data will be shared with both Mexican and U.S. government agencies. The new biometric CURP will be legally required to purchase internet and mobile service, and changes to Mexico's telecommunications law will force internet service providers to
Okay. Just to kind of to have a callback to, I covered that thing about Whitney Webb just because I thought it was interesting, but this is the kind of thing that Whitney Webb and other people have been warning about. Exactly this thing for years. I don't know. Is the warning a warning or is it just a prepping? Sometimes it feels like a prepping to me because the warning doesn't really carry any now everybody knows it's coming, but what are you going to do about it? You're super, you're super up on what's happening, but, unable to stop it for some reason. I don't know.
share users' real-time geolocation data with Mexican authorities, allowing them the ability to shut down service and block digital platforms for failing to comply with regulatory provisions. Greg Reese reporting.
Informational. You hope it never comes to Canada? Oh, it's coming to Canada, Gregory. It's coming here and to Canada real soon, like sooner than you think. I'm afraid. All those authentication things that they're the second level, two-factor authentication things that they're making you do to pretty much get onto every website now are going to turn into literally that, what they just showed you, a QR code. You're going to have this digital ID QR identifier, biometric identifier. You're going to have that to get onto. That's going to be your 2FA. Like soon, very, very soon. So I don't know what we're going to do about what we're all going to do about that. I don't know. But it's going to happen. It's going to happen in Canada, here, all the Western countries for sure. Extra Bullet says, not doing digital coins or IDs. If I have to have it, I'm moving to Bigfoot country and start the uprising there. There you go, sir. Extra Bullet. Doing it for the free. Required to have biometric ID when entering the EU. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. It's happening. Meanwhile, ICE are, doing ICE things. ICE detained U.S. citizen outside grocery store, beat him with a baton, shove his head into the ground, and give him a concussion. I told them where I was born. I had an ID, a social, a birth certificate. He said they didn't care about none of that. Now in the hospital after his family says he passed out twice and couldn't stop vomiting. Video evidence shows he must have been given a concussion by the agents during the arrest. Angel Pena was racially profiled for arrest during an ICE raid at Stater Brothers Market in Ontario.
Today in Ontario, another ICE raid and another U.S. citizen taken into custody.
I'm right here, Angel. I'm right here.
Angel Pena says he was minding his own business when masked federal agents showed up at this Stater Brothers. Customers began to shout at them, telling them to leave, but some went inside the store. Nearby doorbell video shows Pena running away, approaching a passing SUV looking for help, but the agents wound up violently taking him into custody.
Wait, Joey, wait.
They were shoving my head against the ground, elbowed me, and they used forcefully a baton to really pierce my side.
Pena says he tried explaining to the agents that he was an American, but they ignored him.
I know. Just stop for a second.
I told them I was born. Well, I had an ID, I had a social, I had a birth certificate, and none of the officers, the ICE agents that were on scene, they didn't care about none of that.
Only when a supervisor showed up was he released. Earlier this month, a federal judge here in Los Angeles ordered the Trump administration to stop ICE agents from targeting people based on their skin color, accent, or job.
Yeah, that's an idea. Don't target people based on their skin color, but I mean, I think we're already way far down the road with that one. Trump just canceled protections for Afghan interpreters who fought alongside our troops and were promised safety in America. He's sending them back to the Taliban for an immediate death sentence. This is unimaginably evil.
What's your name? What's your name?
You don't have his name. You're not entitled to his name.
No, go. We'll go. We'll ID him.
I work with the U.S. military back in my home country. Okay. I have all the documents. I didn't have a credible fear interview. I work with the U.S. military. I was interpreter. I work with the U.S. military.
Do you have a warrant for his arrest?
Yes, we do.
Provide the warrant. Provide the warrant. I work with the U.S. military. Just tell them.
You can come with us, sir. You can
Provide the warrant.
You can come with us.
You don't have a warrant. I work U.S. military back in my home country, Afghanistan. This is my city.
Can I see his warrant?
Yes, I'll show it to you in the elevator.
Or you can show it now, make sure it's
No,
the right person. Because I've seen you cuff the wrong people.
Could you back up, please? Thank you.
Embarrassing. But I say I, like, more than
No.
3 years, I worked with the U.S. military back in my home country. But
Thank
I came
Back
here
up.
Thank you for your service.
to make a bit of life. I didn't know that it's gonna happen like this for me. I never thought about this. I have all the evidence that I work with the U.S. military, everything. I was interpreter. I was in a very dangerous part of Afghanistan with the U.S. military. Right.
So what is the focus?
Your neighbors stand with you.
Okay.
You don't have their name, you don't have a warrant.
My client was just detained by ICE after his master calendar hearing. The judge did not grant the motion to dismiss. She has set my client's case for a merits hearing on his asylum application. He spent 3 years in Afghanistan supporting the U.S. mission in Afghanistan. He's come here to seek asylum, and instead, he's been shackled and put in a cage, and as the attorney for the government said, he's going to be put in expedited removal, and that's his reward for helping the United States of America.
Wild. It's Biden's fault. It's Obama's fault. I mean, you know. Everyone has greased the rails to get here. They all put the blocks in place to get here. The ice blocks. Get it? All right. That does it for me. For watching. Appreciate you. I will be back tomorrow at the usual time. The regular time of 12 p.m. Pacific. Thanks for hanging. Thanks for chatting. You guys are great. Thanks for being here. I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for the anxiety. Thanks, but no thanks. All right, guys. Beware the bear.